In December 2004, right before the Indian Ocean tsunami hit the coast of Tamil Nadu, the water inexplicably pulled back. It retreated over a mile from the shoreline, stripping away the waves to expose the bare, muddy seabed. For a few terrifying, breathtaking minutes, locals staring out from the beach saw something completely unexpected. Resting out there on the newly exposed ocean floor were long, straight rows of massive, collapsed stone walls and intricately carved boulders. These ruins immediately validated a centuries-old legend. For hundreds of years, European mariners sailing these routes traded stories about a place they called the Seven Pagodas. According to the myth, 6 magnificent coastal temples had been entirely swallowed by the sea. Curious, observant, but over time, the story of the sunken 6 had been dismissed as pure maritime folklore. Scholars assumed the legend was simply inspired by a single structure, the famous shore temple, which you can see here still standing perfectly intact right on the edge of the breaking waves. That sudden, violent unearthing in 2004 proved the ocean was actually hiding a massive historical vacuum. To figure out exactly what the sea swallowed, we have to look inland and examine the empire that built the single surviving temple on the beach. This map highlights the 7th century reach of the Pallava Dynasty. Their coastal port of Mamallapuram anchored a trade network stretching across the Bay of Bengal to Asia. Ships trading massive loads of spices, silks, and stones flooded the kingdom with staggering wealth. King Narasimhavarman I, a fierce warrior who earned the title the Great Wrestler, decided to weaponize that wealth. He wanted to engineer a coastline so visually overwhelming that any foreign merchant sailing into his port would be immediately intimidated by the sheer power and divine favor of his empire. To achieve this, he gathered the finest sculptors in the region and financed a highly experimental architectural technique. Instead of stacking individual bricks and holding them together with mortar, his engineers would carve enormous temples directly out of live monolithic granite boulders. Notice the immense scale of the structure and adjacent stone elephant in this photograph. These are the Pancharathas, or the 5 chariots. Sculptors used pink granite boulders as a grand laboratory, whittling solid rock from top to bottom until these intricate structures emerged. Because they were never officially consecrated, no one actually worshipped in them. Instead, they functioned as permanent, 3-dimensional blueprints. The sculptors used these exact models to hammer out the strict proportions of Dravidian temple architecture that would dominate southern India for the next 1,000 years. The success of the 5 chariots pushed the sculptors to scale up. They abandoned isolated boulders and began treating the massive natural cliff faces lining the city as open-air storytelling canvases. This wide shot captures the sheer density of a bas-relief, known as the Descent of the Ganges. Spanning a 96 by 43-foot cliff face, the rock is heavily populated with hundreds of celestial figures, hunters, and a family of massive, anatomically precise elephants. Look at the natural vertical cleft running right down the center of this image. Engineers integrated the environment into the art, using that gap to channel heavy monsoon rainwater, physically mimicking the cosmic river Ganges crashing from the heavens to earth. By the 8th century, the empire made a crucial technological leap. This diagram contrasts their methods. Instead of carving downward into live rock, engineers realized they could quarry granite into uniform blocks and build upward. The towering spires shown here belong to the shore temple, the crown jewel of this block masonry era. It was intentionally constructed right on the water's edge, acting as a towering beacon to catch the rising sun for sailors miles out at sea. This new invention of block masonry completely freed the Pallavas from the physical limits of their local geology. They no longer had to search for the perfect boulder. They could engineer immense monuments wherever they pleased, even inches from the roaring tide. But the ocean rarely stays quiet. Minutes after the waters retreated in 2004, the massive tsunami violently crashed back against the coast, instantly submerging the exposed ruins and hiding the ocean floor once again. The brief window of exposure was enough. It triggered a wave of extensive marine archaeological expeditions. Scientists deployed modern sonar and diving teams to map the exact layout of the waters lying just off the Mamallapuram coast. The resulting data confirmed what the locals saw. The romantic folklore of the Seven Pagodas was entirely rooted in truth. There really is a massive, highly developed ancient complex sitting submerged at the bottom of the sea. When you connect that sunken underwater city directly back to the surviving stone monuments on the shore, the full picture comes into focus. King Narasimhavarman's imperial vision was vastly larger and much more complex than scholars previously imagined. The Pallavas took the staggering wealth of an international trade hub and etched their power directly into the earth. They engineered a legacy so deeply carved that neither 1,000 years of history nor the crushing depths of the Indian Ocean could erase it.